inspire, remember. Through this journey, I have met some of the most extraordinary people. Laura Kimball was a beautiful woman who lit up the room with her beauty and her smile. Mike Robinson had the best laugh. It was an honor to have gone skydiving with him. Jim completed 36 marathons. He was at the Boston Marathon a few yards from the finish line when his wife asked him to stop for a picture. That moment saved his life at that time as a bomb went off just a few seconds later. Greg Goulart was a professional basketball referee. I encountered him twice. I hugged him at PurpleLight just weeks before he passed. And I was taken back as when I hugged him, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace and joy in my heart. I didn't want to let him go. There was a sense of total acceptance and peace in his whole being. Carol Kulik was a gentle soul who volunteered at her church, who could put together last-minute luncheons. She was a person you can count on. Naran Parente had owned a beauty shop. She did hair and nails, and she had a great sense of style. She was in charge of PurpleLight Survivor Tent in Orange County, and she always made us feel special. I knew these people personally. Roberta Luna couldn't make it today. She had chemo and she wasn't feeling well. She's a 14-year survivor. She is my partner in crime. We have gone skydiving twice since I've been diagnosed. Herb, he is one of our volunteers, and he gets very frustrated because he feels like the awareness is just not being spread fast enough. I also I belong to a Whipple Warriors group on Facebook, and there's hundreds of us across the United States and other countries. Sadly, we lose people on a weekly basis, but we lift each other up. Some of these encounters, these people that I've met, have been short, but the friendships and the connections we make are timeless. They'll last for an eternity. My journey began on February 11th of 2012, exactly 1 month after my 50th birthday. I hadn't been feeling well for several months, but since I work in a hospital, I just assumed that I was on my 5th round of the flu. I also experienced itchiness all over my body and dark brown urination, which I thought may be due to food poisoning. In addition, I experienced severe low back pain, but being a runner and having completed 10 Los Angeles marathons and twice as many half marathons, I attributed this discomfort to many years of running. But then when it felt like someone had punched me in my kidneys, I knew something was not right. I decided it was time to see a doctor. My doctor ordered all sorts of tests. And extensive lab work, which came back abnormal. I was then admitted to the community hospital where I work with the initial diagnosis of gallstones. The next morning, the admitting physician came into my room to explain the procedure. In the interim, I had had a CT scan. As he was explaining the procedure, he pulled up my scan results. He then said, "Uh-oh." I said, "What do you mean, uh-oh?" He said, "You have a mass on the head of your pancreas." I knew this was not a good thing, so I immediately called my family. After the doctor left my room and before my family came to be with me, as I let things sink in, I posted a quote that I have on my desk. I posted a quote on Facebook that I have on my desk, and it reads, "Look back and thank God. Look forward and trust God. Look around and serve God. Look within and find God." After the procedure, my husband and my 3 sons were pulled into a small room, and they were given the news that I did not have gallstones, but rather that it was pancreatic cancer. They were given the facts of this horrible disease, and were told that I most likely had 6 months to a year to live. They were devastated. A surgeon then came into my room and said that since I was in such great physical condition and fairly young, I was eligible for a surgery called the Whipple procedure, which is pretty much the only cure for pancreatic cancer. He said there was a 90% chance that the tumor could be removed. My family was excited, but my husband and I were worried about the 10%. 4 days later, I was taken to surgery in the hopes of having the cancer removed. My surgery was aborted because they found that my tumor had attached to the mesenteric vein. Again, my boys and my husband were pulled into the small room, and they were told there wasn't anything that could be done, and that I most likely had 3 to 6 months to live. Once again, they were devastated. I then made an appointment at the UCLA Ivy Hirschberg Center for Pancreatic Disease. Here I was started on multi-agent chemotherapy called Gilfornox, a very aggressive chemotherapy. After several months of this chemotherapy, the tumor shrunk enough and it shrunk away from the mesenteric vein. Then I was eligible for the Whipple procedure. On January 29th of 2013, I had a successful Whipple procedure. It was a 12-hour operation, extensive operation. From day one of my diagnosis, I have never felt sorry for myself or asked, why me? Instead, I ask, and I continue to ask, well, what do you want me to do with this? I also made the choice to stay strong physically, mentally, and spiritually. 6 weeks after my Whipple procedure, I ran the last mile of the Los Angeles Marathon with the amazing marathon goddess Julie Weiss, who at the time was running her 52nd marathon in 52 weeks. That was her 52nd marathon. This was very emotional for me, as I had previously dedicated each marathon to to our service men and women, and to other groups of people who were in need. That's my own way of praying and lifting people up in prayer. I never imagined someone would be dedicating a marathon to me. I then jumped back into my life. I completed 2 half marathons, a full marathon, which was my 11th LA marathon. I also earned an additional black stripe on my karate belt and went skydiving for the 4th time. The first time I went skydiving was 9 months after I was diagnosed. I was back in my life cancer-free for a year and 4 months, but in May of 2014, I had a reoccurrence at the original site where the cancer had attached to the mesenteric vein. This time I was told the tumor involves 3 vessels and is inoperable. Needless to say, my family was devastated again. I was placed back on aggressive multi-agent chemotherapy and was told this chemo would buy me some time. I originally tolerated the treatments extremely well. The same day after treatment, I would walk 3 miles and hike 4 to 6 miles throughout the remainder of the week, even hooked up to a pump that administered continuous chemotherapy for an additional day and a half. I also continued to work full time. The second time around, though, the experience was totally different. The chemo literally knocked me off my feet. I was not able to drink for 3 to 5 days, and it would take me 10 to 14 days to bounce back to normal. After several months of this treatment, I developed an intolerance to the chemo, and then the chemo had to be stopped. Thanks be to God, there has been no new activity in over a year. My husband had also been sick from a different illness. He has stayed strong for me through my fight. He took very good care of me. We took good care of each other. But the news of my reoccurrence in May 2014 was too much for him to bear. He died 2 months later. I continue my journey without my best friend of 38 years. I miss him more and more each day. Since my reoccurrence, I have gone to Mexico, climbed pyramids, gone horseback riding, and walked on volcano ruins. I plan on going skydiving for the 5th time in the near future. At the current time, I'm not able to run. I get physically ill. I have taken up yoga, which I enjoy. I used to be able to make a to-do list of 10 things. Now if I do 2 things, it's a good thing for me. My life has drastically changed, but I don't focus on what I do not have, and I do focus on what I do have, and I'm grateful for those amazing memories. This cancer can do whatever it wants to my body, but no matter what, it can't touch my soul or my spirit. It will never change who I am, and it will never take away my joy. On the good days and the bad days, I inhale life to the fullest. My faith remains strong. I want to thank June and Michael for inviting me here, and I want to thank the Pancreatic Action Network, Cancer Network, from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to tell my story. This organization means the world to me. That's my story.